even though we're going into a short session this year, Mike explained that the Indiana General Assembly at the State House in Indianapolis, our state representatives and state senators, that's actually a biennial session, okay? The session is 2 years long. So the first year is the regular session. The second year, they used to only meet once every 2 years. But they had to change that to address budgetary issues, is why they said some things couldn't wait that long. So now they come back. This year is what they call the short session, 60 session days. So it's a shorter session. They've got less time. They've got to be out by March 14th. So there's not a lot of time to get things done. Typically, they'll be a little more precise, and they do not have to pass a budget this year. That'll be next year that they'll have to pass a budget again. So constitutionally, our General Assembly doesn't have to do anything in Indianapolis this winter. Don't have to. They can go there and do nothing. They'll get reelected, come back next year, and they'll have to do a budget. So getting something done in a short session is often very difficult. However, if you remember 2 years ago in the short session, what did we do? Did we do something? Yeah, it's a pretty major accomplishment. So it can be done. We've got some support. We think that this may take some legs, and we might have some success in getting something done with regards to registration and accountability of motorized bicycles. And we've got a lot of friends. BMV is supportive of this. Local law enforcement is supportive of it. State police are supportive. A lot of them not publicly. They can't come out and testify necessarily in favor of it, but they want some clarification. So that's one of the big things on our agenda. A couple other things on our legislative agenda we're going to try to get taken care of are more along the lines of technical corrections. A couple of them are actually in BMV in the rules section, but some of it has to be addressed legislatively. A lot of agencies can have what they call rules that don't have to be voted on by the representatives and senators. If it's a state code, Indiana code, if it's law, it has to go before the General Assembly to be changed. So some of these things will have to go before the General Assembly. Some can be done in BMV. There's a phenomenon that Indiana has with only, I think, currently 5 states have, a motorcycle-only license. There are like 11 of them in existence statewide. It's a terrible source of confusion. It's a problem. It doesn't make sense. It needs to go away. Along with that is a temporary motorcycle learner's permit. A huge source of confusion. License branches screw it up almost every time they do it because there are so few of them. We need to clean that up. Right now, if I go to obtain a motorcycle endorsement, I go to the branch, take a 25-question test, obtain my permit, I have to hold that permit for a minimum of 30 days before I'm allowed to take my motorcycle out to a skills examination site and show that I can ride it by passing a test with a minimal number of points. If I have the ability to take that test today, why do I have to wait 30 days? Back in the early 1980s when that was written, the reason was you go in and take a written test, we know you at least know what a motorcycle is. You see a picture of one, you know that you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to squeeze that. You can tell us that you know that, you studied that. We give you a piece of paper that under 3 restrictions, no passengers, daylight only, have to wear a helmet, you go out and practice for 30 days. And if you don't kill yourself, then you can come take this test. But use this 30 days to go practice. Well, if I speak fluent Spanish, why should I have to take 2 years of Spanish just to get a credit? ¿Cómo estás? Muy bien, gracias. ¿Dónde está la corte de baño? That is the extent of my Spanish vocabulary. Thank you very much. But if I am fluent, why should I have to sit through 4 semesters of Spanish just to fill out a requirement on a piece of paper? I can test out. If I'm capable of passing this skills examination on my motorcycle today, what useful purpose is served by waiting for 30 days? So those are some of the stumbling blocks we're going to try to fix, some in rules, some legislatively. We probably will not see any movement on right-of-way legislation in the state this year because of the short session and the fact that since we've not had an election, committee assignments have not changed, or at least haven't changed much. And Pierce is not really interested in hearing it in his committee. So it's probably not going anywhere this year. We'll continue to look for next year. Something we are desperately going to try to get fixed, and it makes sense. Anybody know what this is? It's pretty cool, isn't it? Williams and I sit around and do shit like this all the time. We've had a lot of discussion about how to accurately measure this thing, handlebar height. One of the things that we've heard from people that have received citations, and we say, how'd they measure it? Well, they didn't. That's probably a problem. So we want to make sure that we get this cleaned up, and this is something to accurately measure. The bike will be standing up perpendicular, so we got to make sure the bars are not just up, but square. Then we make sure that this is level up and down. Then we have a tape that measures down from here to the seat.
How can you measure from the seat if the guy's sitting on
I'm not touching him there. I only measure chicks, okay? I don't roll that way. But this is something we've got. This is a little excessive, okay? We've got 3 or 4 different hybrids of what we've done, but the idea is to show them how absurd it is to have to do this. We want a more common sense measurement, something that's indicative of being a little more modern. The current statute was written actually back in the 60s. Any of you, we're old, remember? We're the guys that are at least 30, maybe most of us over 50. We had muscle cars back in the 60s. Remember what muscle cars were? Kids now don't know muscle cars. Anybody ever get stopped for bumper height? Has there been a bumper height citation issued in the last 30 years, though? I don't think so. And you heard Bart McAtee up here earlier today say that he's not really aware of many citations being written for handlebar height in the last 20 or 30 years either. There's been a little change on that. We want to address that. So that's pretty much where our legislative agenda is going. Federally, we're still looking, we mentioned earlier, the health care bill. Make sure that our interests are fairly represented so we don't get surprised by something in there. Other than that, the reauthorization of the highway bill, what is currently referred to as safety loop, the 2010 funds and such. All those monies are going to incentives for highway safety programs, which include motorcycle safety programs. That's coming up for reauthorization. Hopefully, it's actually expired, okay? It's gone already. The current version is gone. The NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, technically should be shut down right now. They have no operating budget. US DOT should be shut down right now. Congress won't allow that to happen, so they authorize this extension 30 or 60 days at a time until they fix the reauthorization of that bill, which is a multi-billion-dollar bill. It's probably going to be January or February at least until they get that reauthorized. But we're looking to make sure that good motorcycle safety language is in there and not anything that surprises us. That's what's going on at the federal level. State, we're going to be pretty busy. Mike, did you mention the day for ABATE at the State House? January 26th. It's a Tuesday. That's a session day. It will be in the forthcoming edition of Who's Your Motorcyclist. We'll also have it on the website pretty soon. Kids Day is when, Kim? The 11th of February. A little different with ABATE Day this year. We couldn't get space in the short session. It's a very aggressive schedule. So we couldn't get space in the atrium. So we'll be having our morning orientation and registration at the Sheridan, downtown Indianapolis, which is just about a block, maybe a block and a half east up Ohio, just past Meridian, about a block and a half east of the State House. We'll have our orientation and everything there. Then we'll go to the State House and visit our legislators. So, we went a little long here, but this was important stuff. We'll continue to be here. We'll talk about this more as you want and need. Don't ever hesitate to call us on this. Remember, things move rapidly during the legislative session. So that's why the phone trees are so very important. And we're going to encourage you to check the website for up-to-date alerts on what we need to do to make sure that we're protected. Lastly, Emery's probably going to talk about this, but how many AMA members do we have in here? Your current issue of American Motorcyclist, did you see where Emery's pretty pictures in there? Talks about rating state programs, rider education funds to help balance state budgets. New Jersey, what was it, 1.3 million, Emery? $1.3 million rated in New Jersey out of their motorcycle safety fund to help balance the budget. Indiana could be an issue there too. We're going to watch that real close. Hopefully not. So, without further ado, we've got a very diverse group of folks coming in today to talk about a lot of issues that are important to us in many different backgrounds. Gary Williams earlier talked about Lawrence County Recreational Park and our off-highway vehicle program where we partner with the Department of Natural Resources. We've received several RTP, Recreational Trails Programs, grants for development of trails and facilities and infrastructure down there. It's a wonderful place to ride. And we've, many of us started riding dirt bikes, didn't we? Dirt bikes, mini bikes, off-road. How many of us started there? Yeah. Any of us even race motocross a little bit? Race something? Yeah. A lot of us started in the dirt. Some of us still go out and play. Some of us sort of forgot about that until a couple years ago when we got excited about it again. Off-road is a lot of fun. There are ways to do it right, ways to do it safe, ways to do it legal. And to clarify a few of those points for us, from the Department of Natural Resources,